Welcome back to Half Moon Holistic. Today we're going to focus on the lower half of the body, so the glutes, hips, quads, hamstrings. And first we will start off with a gentle warm-up with our sun salutations. So go ahead and come to standing at the front of your mat. Feet together, big toes touching, grounding through the soles of the feet, extending up through the top of the head. Shoulders back, engaging the core, lifting the pelvis, lengthening the tailbone. Bringing our awareness into the breath, slowing the mind. We'll inhale all the way up, reaching through the fingertips, extending through the shoulders, bringing the gaze as high up as you can comfortably. Exhale, forward fold. Letting the body hang loosely here, leading with the chest down towards the thighs. We'll inhale halfway up, squeeze the shoulder blades together, extending all the way down. Inhaling, stepping back with the right leg, coming into low lunge. So you can choose any variation here, hands on the thigh all the way up. Rooting down through the sole of the left foot, pressing firmly into the top of the right foot. Sinking the hips low, reaching the fingertips high. Exhale, hands down, stepping back plank. Making sure the shoulders are directly above the wrists. Squeeze the belly button up to the spine, extending through the soles of the feet. Deep inhale. Gently leaning forward. Exhale, chaturanga down, wrapping the elbows to the side body. Inhaling up into Sphinx or Cobra, so you can start on the forearms or the palms here. Pull the chest forward, squeeze the shoulder blades back and down the spine. Again, bringing the gaze as high up as you can comfortably, opening up the throat and chest. Exhaling, hips up and back to down dog. Reaching the hips up high, extending the chest back towards the thighs, allowing the heels to fall naturally towards the floor. Inhaling, stepping forward with the right leg, coming back into the low lunge, sinking the hips low, reaching the upper body high. Exhale, hands down, stepping or walking forward, forward fold. Any variation with the hands here as well on the ground, the shins, grabbing the opposite elbow. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, down. Inhale, deep bend in the knees, all the way up. And exhale, hands to heart center. This time following the left side body, inhale up. Exhale, fold. Inhaling halfway up. Exhale, down. Inhale, stepping back, left leg, low lunge. Keeping the hips square with the short end of the mat. Exhale, hands down, stepping back plank. Breathing to the belly button, press firmly into that first finger and thumb. A little less weight on the pinky side. Deep inhale, gently leaning forward. Exhale, chaturanga down. Inhaling up, Sphinx or Cobra. Pull the chest forward. Let the shoulder blades slide down the spine. Exhale, hips up and back, down dog. Inhale, stepping forward, left leg. Exhale, hands down, stepping or walking forward, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, down. Deep bend in the knees. Inhale, all the way back up. Exhale, hands to heart center. And this time we'll flow through to our leg focus. Inhaling up. Exhale down. Inhale halfway up. Exhale down. We're going to inhale, stepping back with the left leg. We're going to focus on the right leg first. So starting in low lunge. You can take any kind of props here, propping a bolster underneath of the hips if you'd like to focus on sinking the hips a little lower. You can use blocks on either side of the legs here. Keep the hands on the hips. We're going to squeeze the left hip forward, squeeze the right hip back to square off with the mat, making sure the front knee is directly above that right ankle. And then pressing firmly through the top of the left foot. So the weight is distributed from the knee all the way down through to the ankle. Letting the hips release here, the inner thigh, the groin. Allowing each exhale to sink the hips a little bit lower. If you ever want to go deeper, just walking out that front foot. And now we're going to pull the stretch into the quads. So you're going to lift up onto the back toes and press through the heel. So you're going to push into that left leg. You're going to feel the stretch move into the front of the left thigh here. Coming back to the breath. One more deep inhale. We're going to exhale, coming back onto the top of the left foot. We're going to heel toe the right leg out to the edge of the mat and then sink the arms down. So you can stay up on the palms or down on the forearms. Taking a few deep breaths here and a few variations on the right thigh as well. You can hug the right knee in towards the right armpit or open up the right knee. If you're opening up the right knee, allow the foot to follow so that they're always facing in the same direction. You can use the right arm to gently release that right leg. Or you can just hang out on the forearms or the palms. You could also use blocks underneath of the arms here if you don't want to get quite this low. And any kind of movement that feels good for you today. Releasing the back of the right hip, the groin. And from here, we're going to come back up onto the hands. Heel toe the right foot back to center. And then we're going to work that foot behind the left wrist, dropping the knee down behind the right wrist, and then finding any variation for you here. So you can bring that foot in towards the groin if you need to, and we're going to walk that left leg back behind. You want to focus on sinking the hips, sinking the groin down towards the mat. If you need a block or a blanket, you're going to prop it underneath of this right hip. You want to try to release that right hip down so we're not holding it up in the air. You want to be able to release and sink down into that right hip while keeping the hips square with the short end of the mat. So you're going to push the left hip forward a little bit here. And then choosing any variation for the upper body. You can stay upright or you can drop down again onto the forearms. Maybe make a pillow with the hands. You want to really feel the stretch along the right glute, the back of the hip, a little bit in the front of the left groin, inner thigh. Really breathing deeply to this area, allowing each exhale to release that glute breath by breath. Inhale back up onto the palms. You can come back onto the knees here and just sink back into child's pose. Again, choosing any variation, you keep the knees into the midline or open them up to the width of the mat. The hands can stay up above the head, creating a pillow with the hands or wrapping them along the side body. Just taking a few deep breaths here, releasing the thighs, the glutes, the hips. And we'll inhale back up whenever you're ready. We're going to move back into this right leg, into the hamstring this time. So stepping forward into that low lunge, and we're just going to sink the hips back into a half split. So here is a really great position to use the blocks as well, one on either side of the leg. You want to make sure that the left hip is staying in line with the left knee, so you don't want to pop it out to the side here. Keeping the right toes pointed straight up towards the ceiling. Use the ground or the blocks to pull the chest forward. Squeeze the shoulder blades back, leading with the chest towards your leg. You're going to actively pull that right heel back towards the right hip, pulling the stretch deep into the hamstring. Remember to breathe deeply here. You might feel it in your right glute as well, the low back maybe. One more deep inhale. And we're going to exhale, releasing, bending that right knee, bringing both hands back onto the inside, and then sweeping that right leg out into gate posture. So if this is a bit of a challenge, you can stay here. And you want to make sure that the right toes are touching the ground. So if not, you can prop a block underneath. And if you'd like to go a little bit deeper, we'll come up. Inhale, hands all the way up. And we'll exhale, bending over to the right. So the right arm is going to be resting on the right leg, but you want to make sure that it's not on the knee. We don't want to put any more extra pressure on that knee than we need to. And then reaching up through the left fingertips, extending all the way through the left side body. Breathing to the belly button. And inhale back up to center. We'll exhale, release. And we're going to sweep this right leg back behind us. And this is where you're going to need the wall. So you're going to work that right leg back until the knee is pressed against the wall, coming into a low lunge, moving deep into the right quad. So again, if you need to stay down with the hands on the ground, that's awesome. You can stay here. If you want to go a little deeper, you're going to come up. And we're going to eventually lean back, pressing the back towards the wall, keeping the body upright, and pulling deep into that right quad. Breathing down the body. Using the exhales to release that quad breath by breath. And one more deep inhale. And we'll exhale, release, coming gently out of the posture. And we'll just reverse sides. So this time we're going to step forward with the right leg, coming into low lunge. And taking a few deep breaths here. come to the other side. So in the low lunge, we're going to start with the top of the foot flat on the floor, pressing firmly through the sole of the left foot and the top of the right foot. Using the breath, every exhale sinks the hips a little lower. Again, any variation with the hands is fine. You can keep them on the ground, on blocks, or on the thigh. We're going to press that right hip forward, squeeze the left hip back to square off with the mat. And then we're going to pull the stretch into the quad of the right leg. So we're going to lift onto the toes of the right leg and then extend through the sole of the foot, pushing into that right leg. So the stretch is going to move a little bit deeper into the quad here, and then coming back to the breath. One more deep inhale. And we'll exhale, release, bringing both hands onto the inside of the left leg this time and heel toeing that left leg out to the edge of the mat. And then choosing the variation that's right for you. So you can stay up on the hands or drop down onto the forearms. Again, you can use blocks under the forearms or the hands here as well. And then choosing the variation with the leg, you can squeeze that left knee into the left armpit or gently open up the left leg, allowing the foot to follow. Again, you can use the left hand this time to gently guide that left leg open, just kind of gently massaging it, releasing the glute. And we'll inhale back up onto the hands, heel toeing the left foot back to center. And this time heel toeing it back behind the right wrist. Dropping the knee down behind the left wrist and walking out that right leg. So this time we're going to focus on releasing the left glute. Again, if you need a bit of props, you want to be able to really release this left glute. So if you need to put a block or a blanket underneath, that's totally fine. You can also choose the placement of the left foot. So if you want to go a little less deep, you're going to work that foot back toward the groin or towards the right thigh. And if you want to move deeper into the glute, then you're just going to walk that foot out behind that right wrist. Again, any variation is fine here. You can stay up on the palms, drop down to the forearms, or create a little pillow with the hands. Leaning a little bit to the right so that we're not just sinking down into that left glute. And coming back to the breath. Sending the inhales all the way down to that left glute. And allowing the exhales to release this muscle, breath by breath. And we'll inhale back up onto the palms. Drawing the left leg back this time. Really gently coming out of the posture. It's a super deep posture. And then sinking back into child's pose. Inhale back up, stepping back into that low lunge with the left leg out front. And then we're going to sink the hips back this time, drawing into the left hamstring. So again, making sure that the hips are aligned, the right hip isn't popping out to the side. Draw it back over that right knee. Left toes pointed straight up towards the ceiling this time. And using either blocks under the hands or hands on the ground, pull the chest forward, squeeze the shoulder blades back, leading with the chest towards that leg. Actively pulling that left ankle towards the left thigh. You're going to pull that stretch into the hamstring there. You're going to feel it maybe in the left glute this time, maybe the low back, hips. Always making sure to breathe down to the belly button. Some of these stretches can be really deep, so you've got to make sure that we're still breathing. If you ever notice that you're holding your breath, just gently coming out of the posture a little bit. One more deep inhale. We're going to exhale, release, gently bending into that left leg, and then we'll swing the left leg out to the side this time. So again, you can stay here, making sure the toes are on the ground or on a block, or you can come up and we'll move into gate. Inhaling, arms up, and exhaling, leaning to the left. So this time you're going to feel the stretch all the way along the right side body. Maybe the inner left thigh, hamstring. Inhale back up to center, exhale, arms down. And this time we're going to swing the left leg back so that the knee is pressed up against the wall. And then stepping into a low lunge on the opposite side. Again, this is a really deep stretch as well in the quad here. So you can stay with the hands down, or you can gently move up, coming into a low lunge position. So you want to actively press back towards the wall, breathing deeply into that quad, using the exhales to release the muscles. Maybe noticing if there's a difference between the left and right side. This one's feeling a little tighter for me today. Concentrating on the breath. And one more inhale. Exhale, release, gently coming out of the posture. And we'll just take a minute. We're going to come to a seated position here. So we're going to start in staff position with the legs extended out in front of us, rooting down through to the sit bones. We'll move into the hamstrings again here. So you want to make sure that the toes are actively pointing straight up towards the ceiling. Making sure that you still maintain that arch in the lumbar spine here. If you tend to round the back, you can always start at the wall. and just focus on sitting upright, maybe tucking a blanket or a small bolster behind the low back, and drawing the chest open, squeezing the shoulder blades back towards the wall. If you can keep that nice straight spine with a gentle arch in the lumbar spine, we'll move into a forward fold here. So we'll inhale, arms all the way up, and exhale, folding forward. Again, you can use bolsters in front of you if you'd like to take a more restorative or yin approach here. Otherwise, you can use the hands on the legs, the ground, the feet. We're going to pull the chest forward again. Squeeze the shoulder blades back. Try not to round the shoulders too much. There will be a little bit of a natural round to the spine here. And using the breath, of course. Every inhale, pulling the chest forward, lengthening out the spine, and every exhale, folding a little bit deeper. And one more deep inhale. We're going to slowly come up one vertebrae at a time and move into our reclined positions. So I'm just going to move my mat here a little bit so you can see the way I'm positioning the body. So working our way onto the back, we're going to come into another glute position. So taking a minute, draw the shoulders under, draw the tailbone under, rooting down through the soles of the feet. We're going to inhale the right leg straight up towards the ceiling, and exhale, dropping that right ankle on top of the left knee. If you feel a good stretch in the right glute, you can stay here. Otherwise, you're going to lace your hands behind the left thigh and guide that left leg into the upper body. You're going to actively press the right knee away from the upper body. Feeling the stretch in the right glute. And coming back to the breath. Being aware of the alignment on the left knee here. Try not to let it drop into the midline or open out to the side. You want to keep it aligned above that left hip. Breathing down into the belly button. And one more deep inhale. We're going to exhale, just releasing the arms. You can have the arms outright or at a cactus position. And we're going to exhale, dropping the legs over to the left. So you're still going to feel the stretch along the right glute, maybe the low back and hip. You can use the left hand to guide the right knee over to the left. If it's okay on the neck, bringing the gaze to the right fingertips, making sure that the right shoulder is rooting down into the mat. And then again, coming back to the breath here, enjoying a gentle spinal twist. I'm going to inhale back to center. And just draw both knees into the chest, adding any kind of movement here that feels good for you today. And then we'll set up for the opposite side. So again, taking the feet, planting them on the floor. We're going to inhale this time the left leg straight up towards the ceiling. Exhale, dropping the left ankle onto the right knee. If you feel good, staying there. Or this time we're going to take the hands behind the right thigh, drawing the right leg into the upper body. Making sure the right knee is aligned over the right hip, and actively pushing the left knee away from the upper body, drawing the stretch into that left glute. Again, noticing any differences between the left and right sides. Without judgment of our body, just being aware of these differences. Bringing our awareness into our body, into our movement, our patterns, our behaviors. One more deep inhale. We're going to exhale, releasing the arms and dropping the legs over to the right this time. So this time the right hand will guide the left knee down towards the floor. And if it's okay on the neck, bring the gaze to the left fingertips, rooting the left shoulder down into the mat. Enjoying a gentle spinal twist. Feeling the weight of the body sinking down towards the earth. And inhaling back to center. One last time, drawing both knees into the chest. And if you have some time, I encourage you to take Shavasana, spending as much time there as is needed. And otherwise, thank you so much for joining me on our leg class. Thank you so much. Namaste.